The night was quiet. The moon shone softly over the forest and the wind whispered through the tall trees. Ethan walked along the old path with his hands in his pockets. He liked the peace of the woods after a long day. But tonight something felt strange. The silence was too heavy, too unnatural. He stopped. Far away between the trees a faint light flickered. It was not the golden glow of a firefly or the warm light of a lantern. This light was cold, bluish, and it pulsed like a heartbeat. Ethan frowned. No campers lived out here, and no one he knew used such lights. He stepped off the path, curiosity stronger than caution. The ground was damp under his boots, and each step echoed in the silence. The deeper he walked, the brighter the light became. Then he heard it. A voice. "Please. Human, help!" Ethan froze. His heart raced. The voice was high, trembling, and filled with fear. It was not a man's voice nor a woman's voice. It was strange, broken, as if it came from far away but still touched his ears clearly. Again the voice cried, louder this time. "Please, human, help, my mom. My mom fell into your snare." Ethan's breath caught in his throat. Someone was calling him. Someone who knew the word human but spoke it as if they were not one. His hands shook, but he forced his legs to move. Branches scratched his arms as he pushed through the bushes. The flickering light grew stronger, almost blinding now. He shielded his eyes and stepped into a small clearing. There, standing at the center, was a girl. But she was no ordinary girl. Her skin was pale silver, glowing faintly under the moonlight. Her eyes were large, bright like twin stars, shimmering with tears. Thin lines of blue light ran across her arms, like veins filled with energy instead of blood. Her hair floated softly, even though no wind touched her. Ethan's mouth went dry. He had never seen anything like her. The girl stepped forward, her hands trembling. "Please, you must help me. My mom is trapped. She will die," Ethan stammered. What are you?" Who are you?" The girl shook her head, frustrated. "No time, please, human. The snare is killing her." Her voice cracked, heavy with tears. She pointed with her glowing hand toward the trees. "This way, hurry!" Ethan hesitated. His mind screamed that this was impossible, unreal, a dream maybe. But the fear in her eyes was real. The pain in her trembling voice was real. He followed. The girl ran lightly over the forest floor, her feet barely touching the ground. Ethan stumbled after her, his heart pounding. The strange light around her lit the path. The trees stretched tall and dark, their shadows twisting as if alive. At last they reached another clearing. Ethan gasped. In the middle stood a net. Not an ordinary hunter's net made of rope or wire. This one glowed with shifting lines of energy, woven like strands of lightning. The air hummed with power, crackling and sharp. Inside the net, caught like prey, was a taller figure. A woman, though not human, struggled weakly. Her silver skin dimmed, her star-like eyes half closed. Sparks from the glowing net bit into her body, draining her strength. The girl cried out and rushed to the woman's side. "Mother!" The woman groaned, her voice soft and broken. "Run, child. Leave me. No, I won't." The girl shouted, tears rolling down her glowing cheeks. She turned to Ethan, her face desperate. "Please, human. Free her, please." Ethan stepped closer, his heart hammering. The net was strange, alive, almost breathing. The energy stung his skin even from a distance. He had never seen such technology. He whispered almost to himself, "I didn't make this. I couldn't." The girl grabbed his sleeve, pulling him closer with surprising strength. "But you are human. These snares are from your kind. Please, you must help." Ethan's head spun. Humans, his kind. Who else would set something like this? No hunter in his town owned such a trap. No human could create glowing nets of energy. And yet this alien child believed it. He looked again at the alien woman, still trapped, still fading. Her breaths came slower and weaker. If he did nothing, she would die before his eyes. Fear battled with pity inside him. Then a chilling sound broke the night. From deep in the woods came a heavy, metallic echo, like boots striking iron ground. Step after step, slow and measured. The girl's face turned pale. Her glowing eyes widened in terror. She whispered, almost too softly, "They are coming." Ethan's blood turned cold. "Who?" he asked, voice shaking. The girl clutched his arm tighter. Her tears sparkled in the dim light. "The hunters. If they find us here, we are all dead." The night grew heavier. The glowing trap hummed louder. And the footsteps came closer. Ethan realized too late. This was no ordinary night in the forest. This was the beginning of something much bigger. The footsteps grew louder. Metallic, heavy, and steady, like machines walking with purpose. Ethan's body froze. His breath caught in his throat. The alien girl tugged at his arm, eyes wide with panic. "Please help my mom before they come closer." Ethan turned his gaze back to the glowing net. The alien woman inside was weakening fast. Her silver skin no longer glowed bright. Her chest rose and fell in shallow breaths. Each time the energy sparks touched her, she flinched in pain, but she no longer had the strength to scream. Ethan swallowed hard. "This isn't mine. Humans don't build things like this." The girl shook her head fiercely. "It has human scent. Human style. I don't know how, but it belongs to your world." Ethan stepped closer to the trap. The air around it buzzed like angry bees. His hair stood on end. The energy strands moved like living wires, wrapping tighter around the woman each time she tried to move. It was not just a trap. It was a cage that fed on its prisoner. He reached out carefully. The moment his hand came too near, the glowing strands snapped toward him like lightning. He pulled back with a gasp. His fingertips tingled and burned. The girl cried, voice breaking. "You see? It kills her. Please find a way." Ethan looked at the ground around the trap. Small symbols burned faintly into the soil like marks of fire. He bent closer. They were not letters he recognized. They curved and twisted in patterns too complex, glowing softly like embers. Whoever made this had power beyond anything he had ever known. The footsteps drew nearer. A metallic echo followed by a hiss like machines releasing air. "They're almost here," the girl whispered, her voice shaking. Ethan's heart pounded. He had only two choices: run and save himself, or stay and try to help beings he barely understood. But when he looked into the girl's eyes, glowing bright with fear and hope, he knew he could not walk away. He grabbed a thick branch from the ground. His palms sweated as he lifted it like a weapon. "Stand back," he said, voice low. The girl stepped aside, holding her breath. Ethan swung the branch against the glowing net. Sparks exploded. A sharp crack split the air, and the branch shattered in his hands. A piece of wood flew past his face, cutting his cheek. The net didn't even weaken. "No," Ethan muttered. His hands trembled. "It's too strong." The girl fell to her knees beside her mother. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "She will die," she whispered. The woman inside the trap slowly opened her eyes. They were dim but calm. She looked at Ethan, her lips parting. Her voice was weak, but it carried weight. "Human, do not touch." "The core." Ethan frowned. "Core?" Her trembling hand lifted, pointing toward the ground beneath the net. Ethan followed her gesture. Just under the glowing strands, half buried in the dirt, he saw it. Something round, metallic, and pulsing with light. "The heart of the trap. If you strike the core," she whispered, her voice fading, "the snare will break." Before Ethan could answer, the sound of branches snapping made him spin around. Out of the shadows stepped figures. At first, Ethan thought they were armored men. But as the moonlight hit them, his stomach tightened. These were not men. They were tall, insect-like creatures. Their bodies gleamed black like polished stone. Long limbs ended in sharp claws. Their faces were hidden behind hard masks with glowing red eyes. Each step they took sent vibrations through the earth. There were 3 of them. The girl gasped. "Hunters!" The largest one raised its head and spoke in a low, clicking language. The others spread out, scanning the clearing. One of them pointed toward the glowing net, and a chilling hiss escaped its mask. Ethan's body turned cold. They knew. They had come for the woman. The girl grabbed Ethan's sleeve and whispered frantically, "Please, break the core now, before they see us." Ethan's heart raced. He had no weapon strong enough, only his bare hands already cut and bruised. But if he waited, the hunters would reach the trap first, and then there would be no saving anyone. He clenched his jaw. "Stay behind me." Dropping to his knees, he dug at the soil beneath the glowing strands. The ground was hot, almost burning, but he kept digging. His nails tore, dirt filled his hands. Finally, his fingers touched metal, the core. It pulsed like a living heart. The hunters hissed louder. One of them turned, red eyes locking on Ethan. The girl let out a small cry. "Too late," she whispered. Ethan lifted the sharpest piece of the broken branch and raised it high above the glowing core. Sweat dripped down his face. The hunter stepped closer, claws ready. He struck. The branch stabbed into the core. A blinding flash exploded across the clearing. The air shook with force. The glowing net screamed like metal being torn apart. In seconds, the strands snapped one by one, vanishing into sparks. The alien woman fell to the ground, gasping for air, free at last, but the light of the explosion also revealed Ethan's face. The hunters saw him. They hissed in unison and began to charge. The night exploded with sound. The glowing net vanished in a burst of sparks, and the alien woman collapsed into her daughter's arms. For one heartbeat, there was silence. Then came the hiss, the deep, chilling cry of the hunters. Ethan turned. 3 of them charged through the clearing, their red eyes burning like fire. Their heavy claws tore at the ground as they moved. "They were fast, too fast, run!" the girl screamed. Ethan grabbed her hand without thinking. The alien woman stumbled to her feet, weak but determined. Together, the 3 of them ran into the trees. Branches whipped against Ethan's face. His chest burned with each breath. Behind them, the hunters crashed through the forest, breaking branches like paper. The night no longer felt silent. It was alive with danger. One hunter leapt onto a boulder and hissed. A strange device on its arm lit up, sending a red beam of light across the trees. The beam swept side to side, searching. "They're scanning!" the girl cried. Ethan pulled her down into a ditch. The alien woman knelt beside them, gasping, her body still weak from the trap. The red beam passed overhead just inches away. Ethan's heart thudded so hard he thought the hunters would hear it. The hunters hissed again, speaking in that clicking language. They moved closer, spreading out, searching every shadow. "Why are they after you?" Ethan whispered. The girl's eyes shimmered with tears. "They are hunters of life. They take my kind for their machines. They use our energy to live longer." Ethan felt his stomach twist. These things were not just hunters. They were parasites feeding on others to survive. The alien woman coughed weakly. Her voice was low but steady. "They will not stop. Once they mark prey, they hunt until death." Ethan clenched his fists. He had never felt so powerless. He had no weapons, no tools, only his wits. Yet the girl looked at him with desperate hope, as if he could save them. The sound of claws scraping bark cut the air. One hunter was climbing a tree. Its red eyes scanned downward, searching. Ethan knew they couldn't stay hidden. He whispered fast. "This way. Stay low." They crawled through the ditch, moving toward a cluster of rocks. Ethan spotted a small cave half hidden by vines. Without thinking, he led them inside. The cave was dark, damp, and narrow. The girl held her mother close, whispering words in a strange language. Her glowing skin dimmed to hide their light. Ethan pressed his back to the wall, listening. Outside, the hunters hissed. One of them slammed its claws into the ground, sending a shockwave through the earth. Dust fell from the cave ceiling. The girl gasped, clinging tighter to her mother. The hunters stopped, their red eyes scanning again. For a moment, Ethan thought they had been discovered. But then the creatures turned and moved deeper into the forest. Silence returned, heavy and thick. Ethan let out a long breath. His body shook, sweat dripping down his face. He looked at the girl. "We can't stay here." "They'll keep searching," the girl nodded. "We must reach the river. Water hides our scent. If we cross it, they may lose us." The woman stirred, her voice faint but urgent. "No, not the river. The hunters guard the water. They know prey runs there." Ethan rubbed his forehead. Every choice was danger. Then where? The woman's eyes opened wider, filled with pain and memory. "There is an old place in a ruin, buried under earth, hidden by trees. If we reach it, we may find safety." The girl looked at her mother, shocked. "The sanctuary?" The woman nodded weakly. "Yes, but it lies far." Ethan sighed. His legs already ached, but there was no other path. "Then we head there." The girl touched his arm, her voice soft but serious. "You risk your life for us, why?" Ethan looked at her, struggling to answer. "Because I can't watch someone beg for help and do nothing." For the first time, the girl's lips curved into a small, trembling smile. "Then maybe humans are not what I was told." Before Ethan could reply, a sudden shriek split the night. The hunters had found something. The sound echoed through the trees, closer this time. Ethan's pulse spiked. He peeked out of the cave. In the distance, glowing red eyes moved in the dark. They were searching again, tireless, relentless. He turned back to the girl and her mother. "We move now. Stay close. Stay quiet." They slipped out of the cave and crept through the forest. Each step felt like walking on glass. Every sound, every snap of a twig made Ethan flinch. The hunter's glowing eyes flashed behind them, sweeping side to side. Then a strange buzzing filled the air. Ethan looked up. Small machines shaped like metal insects flew between the trees. Their red lights blinked as they scanned the ground. The girl's face turned pale. Drones. Ethan cursed under his breath. The hunters had more than claws. They had machines that searched every corner. One drone hovered closer, its red beam landing on the girl. She gasped. Ethan grabbed a rock and hurled it with all his strength. The rock smashed into the drone's eye. Sparks burst out, and the machine fell to the ground, smoking. The forest lit up with red. All three hunters turned their heads at once. Ethan's blood ran cold. "They know," he whispered. The alien woman leaned against her daughter, too weak to stand tall. The girl grabbed Ethan's hand again. "Then we run. Together." And so they did. Through the darkness, chased by red eyes and machines, deeper into the unknown woods where more secrets waited. The forest was alive with red lights. The hunters' drones buzzed above the trees, scanning every corner. Their red beams slid across the ground like searching eyes. Behind them, the hunters hissed and roared, their heavy claws pounding the earth. Ethan's lungs burned as he ran. Every step felt heavier, but he refused to slow down. The alien girl clung to his hand. Her glowing skin dimmed to hide her light. Her mother stumbled beside them, weak but trying to keep pace. The buzzing grew louder. A drone swooped low, its beam brushing across Ethan's back. He ducked just in time, pulling the girl with him. The beam sliced into a tree, leaving a smoking scar across the bark. "They're too close," the girl cried. Ethan's mind raced. He knew the hunters were stronger, faster, armed with strange machines. If he kept running blindly, they would catch him soon. He had to think, had to use what little he had. His eyes scanned the forest. Then he saw it, a steep slope leading into a dry riverbed. Rocks lined the edges, sharp and loose. A plan sparked in his mind. "This way," he shouted. They slid down the slope, stones rolling under their feet. The girl stumbled, but Ethan caught her arm. The woman nearly fell, but Ethan steadied her too. At the bottom, the ground leveled out. The dry riverbed stretched wide, littered with stones. The girl looked at him, fear in her eyes. "We can't cross in time." "They'll see us." Ethan's lips tightened. "Then we make them stop looking." He knelt quickly, gathering rocks into his arms. He placed them in a pile, then picked the biggest one he could carry. His arm shook from the weight, but he held it firm. The girl frowned. "What are you doing?" "Buying us time," Ethan whispered. He pointed to the top of the slope. The red glow of the hunter's eyes was already shining through the trees. They were coming fast. Ethan raised the heavy rock above his head. His muscles screamed, but he held on. He waited until the hunters were halfway down the slope. Then with all his strength, he hurled the rock at the pile. The stones shifted. The pile broke loose. A small landslide of sharp rocks tumbled down the slope, crashing into the hunters. The creatures hissed in surprise. Two of them stumbled, claws digging into the dirt to stop their fall. The third was struck hard by a rolling boulder and thrown off balance. "Run now!" Ethan shouted. They sprinted along the riverbed. The hunters roared behind them, furious. The drone swarmed closer, but Ethan grabbed another rock and hurled it upward. The stone smashed into one drone's spinning wings, sending it spiraling to the ground. The girl stared at him in shock. "You fight with only stones?" Ethan panted, sweat dripping down his face. "It's all I have." The woman's weak voice broke the moment. "Do not underestimate humans, child. Their strength is not in machines. It is in spirit." Her words struck Ethan's heart. He didn't feel strong. He felt small, tired, afraid. But still he refused to give up. They left the riverbed and ducked into the trees again. Ethan's arms ached, his legs heavy, but his mind kept working. Every broken branch, every loose rock, every shadow, he used them. At one point, he led them through thorn bushes. The hunters, much larger, got caught in the branches, hissing in rage as sharp thorns tore at their armor. At another, Ethan spotted a hollow log. He shoved it onto the path and rolled it downhill. The hunters dodged it, but the delay gave them precious seconds. Step by step, trick by trick, Ethan bought them time. Finally, they collapsed behind a fallen tree. The woman sat against the bark, her breathing shallow. The girl knelt beside her, whispering in their strange language. Ethan leaned against the tree, his chest heaving. He looked at the girl. "How much farther to the sanctuary?" The girl's eyes filled with worry. "Far. We may not reach it before sunrise." Ethan clenched his fists. He knew the hunters would not stop. If he wanted them to survive, he had to do more than delay them. He had to fight. He looked up at the night sky. The stars shone bright, calm, and distant. Somewhere out there, the girl and her mother had a home, and here, on Earth, he was the only one standing between them and death. His fear slowly turned into fire. He turned to the girl. "If they're going to keep coming, then I'll make them regret it." She blinked, surprised. "But you are only human." Ethan gave a small, grim smile. "Exactly. And that's what makes me dangerous." The ground shook. The hunters were close again. Their hissing grew louder. The drone's buzzing filled the air. Ethan stood tall, picking up another rock, his eyes hard with resolve. He knew he couldn't match their strength, but he had something they didn't: human courage. The girl's mother lifted her head weakly, watching him. For the first time, her lips curved in the smallest smile. And then the trees split open, red eyes glowing, claws flashing. The hunters had found them again. Ethan tightened his grip on the stone and whispered to himself, "Come and get me." The forest trembled as the hunters closed in. Their red eyes cut through the dark, glowing like fire. The buzzing of drones filled the night, echoing in the trees. Ethan's grip on the rock tightened, but he knew one stone would not stop them all. The alien girl clutched her mother's arm, fear shining in her star-bright eyes. "We cannot outrun them forever," she whispered. Ethan shook his head. "Then we don't run straight. We make them chase us where they can't win." Before the girl could answer, a drone swooped low, its red beam sweeping across the ground. Ethan grabbed her hand and pulled her into the shadows. The beam passed inches away, scorching the bark of the fallen tree. "Move," Ethan hissed. They darted through the undergrowth. The hunters roared, their heavy claws tearing roots and branches out of the earth. Their machines followed above, blinking red, their buzz growing sharper. Ethan's chest burned. His legs screamed with pain, but his mind raced faster than his body. He searched for ways to survive. Up ahead, he saw a narrow gorge, its walls jagged and steep. A broken bridge stretched across it, half rotten, half standing. Ethan's heart pounded harder. "There!" he shouted. The girl gasped. "It will not hold us." "It doesn't have to," Ethan replied. They scrambled up the rocks, the hunters' growls echoing behind them. Ethan reached the bridge first. The wood creaked under his weight, but he kept moving. The girl followed, pulling her mother close. Halfway across, the bridge groaned like an old beast ready to die. Planks snapped under their feet. Ethan turned, his eyes wide with fear but also with fire. The hunters reached the edge of the gorge. One of them leapt onto the bridge, claws slamming into the wood. The girl cried out, "It will break." Ethan's jaw clenched. That's the point. He grabbed a thick branch wedged between the planks and slammed it against the bridge ropes. The ropes frayed. The wood screamed. The hunter hissed and rushed toward him. Ethan swung the branch again. With a sharp crack, the bridge collapsed. The world tilted. The hunters roared as the wooden structure crumbled beneath them. Ethan, the girl, and her mother fell with it. For a heartbeat, there was nothing but air, then crash. They hit the rocky slope below. Pain shot through Ethan's body, but he forced himself to move. He pulled the girl up, then dragged her mother out from under broken planks. Above them, the hunters clung to the cliff wall, their claws digging into stone. Their red eyes glared down, furious but trapped. The girl stared at Ethan, wide-eyed. "You made them fall." Ethan groaned, his ribs aching. "And bought us time. Come on." They stumbled forward, deeper into the gorge. The walls rose high around them, blocking the drone's sight. The buzzing above grew distant, but peace did not last. A metallic screech echoed behind them. Ethan turned and saw one hunter climbing down the cliff with frightening speed. "Its claws tore stone like paper. They're still coming," the girl cried. Ethan scanned the gorge. His eyes landed on a cluster of dead trees leaning against each other, their roots tangled in dry soil. A dangerous idea formed in his mind. "Keep moving," he ordered. As the girl helped her mother ahead, Ethan rushed toward the dead trees. He pressed his shoulder against the largest trunk and shoved. It groaned, heavy and stubborn. His muscles burned. Sweat poured down his face. The hunter leapt closer, its red eyes fixed on him. "Come on," Ethan growled. He pushed harder, the trunk cracked. With one final shove, the dead tree toppled. It crashed down the slope, smashing into the rocks. The other trees followed, tumbling like a wave of wood and stone. The hunter screeched as the avalanche buried it in dust and splinters. Ethan staggered back, gasping for air. His arms shook from the effort. The girl rushed to him, her eyes wide with awe. You are not like them. You fight with nothing and still you win. Ethan gave a tired smile. I don't win. I just survive. But even as he spoke, a new sound filled the gorge. The buzzing returned. Louder. More drones poured into the air above, their red beams stabbing the ground. And behind them, 2 hunters climbed down the cliffs faster than before. The girl's face paled. They will never stop. Ethan looked ahead. The gorge narrowed into a tunnel of stone. Darkness stretched inside like an endless throat. He swallowed hard. Then we keep moving until they can't follow. The alien woman raised her head weakly. That tunnel, it leads near the sanctuary. Hope flickered in Ethan's chest. Maybe they had a chance. He turned to the girl. Help your mother. I'll deal with the drones. Before she could argue, he grabbed another rock and hurled it at the nearest drone. Sparks burst as it crashed. 2 more closed in, buzzing like angry wasps. Ethan ducked, rolled, and threw again. His aim wasn't perfect, but each stone forced the machines to dodge, buying precious seconds. The girl and her mother reached the tunnel entrance. Ethan sprinted after them, heart pounding. The hunters screeched behind, claws scraping stone. The drones buzzed closer, red beams flashing across the rocks. Ethan dove into the tunnel just as the hunters reached the gorge floor. The darkness swallowed them. For a moment, only silence remained. Then the girl's trembling voice whispered in the blackness, "Human, how long can you keep this up?" Ethan breathed hard, his voice low but steady. As long as it takes. The tunnel was cold and dark. The walls were rough stone, damp with water that dripped from cracks above. Each drop echoed like a heartbeat. Ethan's footsteps were heavy, his body aching from the chase, but he pressed on. The alien girl guided her mother carefully, whispering words of comfort. The woman's glow was faint now, like a dying star. Ethan glanced back. Behind them, the red lights of the hunters still flickered in the gorge. They had not given up. Ethan clenched his fists. They'll keep coming until we're dead. The tunnel twisted deeper underground. Strange marks appeared on the walls, symbols carved long ago. They glowed faintly as the girl passed her hand across them, her light waking theirs. What is this place? Ethan asked, his voice low. The girl looked at him, her eyes wide. Old ground. Sacred ground. My mother said it was only a story. Her mother coughed, her voice weak but clear. It is real. Long ago my people came here and found humans. They were different then. They fought the hunters. They built weapons to drive them away. Ethan froze. Wait, humans? You mean people like me fought those things before? The woman nodded slowly. Yes, but the weapons were hidden, buried when the war ended. Your kind forgot. But the hunters never forgot. Ethan's heart thudded. If humans fought them once, maybe we can again. They reached a wide chamber inside the earth. The ceiling stretched high, filled with glowing lines that crossed like veins of light. In the center stood a stone platform, cracked and ancient. Atop it lay something strange, half buried, covered in dust and vines. Ethan stepped closer. It looked like a weapon, but not any kind he had ever seen. A long staff of dark metal, carved with symbols like the ones on the walls. Its surface pulsed faintly as if it were alive, waiting. The girl's eyes widened. The weapon. It's real. The woman leaned against the wall, her breath shallow. Only a human can awaken it. Ethan's stomach dropped. Me? Why me? Because it was made for your kind, she whispered. The hunters fear humans most of all. That is why they set snares here. That is why they came. Ethan's hands trembled as he reached out. His fingers brushed the cold metal of the staff. A sudden shock raced through him like fire and ice together. He gasped and pulled back, but the staff pulsed brighter. The girl stepped closer, her voice soft. It knows you. Ethan swallowed hard. He wrapped his hands around the staff and lifted it. It was heavy, yet it seemed to balance perfectly in his grip. The symbols along its side lit up one by one, glowing brighter than the chamber lights. The air trembled. The girl stared in awe. It has chosen you. Ethan shook his head, fear in his eyes. I'm no soldier. I don't even know how to fight with this thing. The woman's weak voice cut through. You fight already. Not with weapons, but with heart. That is why the weapon answers you. Before Ethan could speak, a loud hiss echoed down the tunnel. Red lights flashed. The hunters had found the entrance, the girl gasped. They're here. Ethan gripped the staff tighter. His pulse raced. He didn't know how to use it, but he had no choice. The hunters poured into the chamber, their red eyes burning, claws scraping against stone. The drones buzzed in behind them, beams flashing across the walls. One hunter roared and charged. Ethan raised the staff. Instinct told him what to do. He slammed its base against the ground. A shockwave of light exploded outward. The chamber shook. The hunter was thrown backward, crashing into the wall with a screech. Sparks flew from the drones, and 2 of them fell dead to the floor. Ethan stood frozen, staring at the glowing staff in his hands. The girl's voice shook with awe. "You did it." But the hunters did not retreat. They hissed louder, their rage filling the air. More of them poured into the chamber, red eyes glowing like fire in the dark. Ethan's chest tightened. The weapon was powerful, but it drained him. His arms felt heavy, his body weak. Could he hold them off long enough? The woman coughed again, her voice faint. "The sanctuary lies deeper, beyond this place. You must take us there. Only then will we be safe." Ethan's mind raced. He could fight, but not forever. He had to move to protect them. The girl touched his arm, her eyes pleading. "Please, human. Don't stop now. You are all we have." Ethan looked at her, then at the hunters closing in. Fear gripped him, but something stronger rose inside. Resolve. He raised the staff again, its glow filling the chamber. "Then let's show them what it means to be human." The hunters roared and charged once more, and Ethan met them head on. The chamber shook with the roar of the hunters. Their red eyes glared like burning coals, their claws scraping against stone as they charged. Drones buzzed in the air, beams flashing across the walls. Ethan gripped the glowing staff tighter. His hands trembled, his heart thundered, but he stood firm. Beside him, the alien girl held her mother close. The woman was too weak to rise, yet her eyes still glimmered with hope. "Human," she whispered, her voice faint. "This is your fight now." Ethan nodded once, though fear clawed inside him. He raised the staff, its symbols glowing brighter with each breath. The first hunter lunged. Ethan slammed the staff against the ground. A burst of light exploded outward, throwing the creature back into the wall. Stone cracked. Dust filled the air. 2 more hunters leapt through the haze. Their claws slashed toward him. Ethan lifted the staff, and a shield of light formed around his body. Sparks flew as the claws struck, but the shield held. With a shout, Ethan swung the staff sideways. A wave of force blasted both hunters off their feet. They hit the floor hard, screeching in rage. The girl gasped. "You're fighting them?" "Like the old warriors." But Ethan's arms ached and sweat dripped down his face. The weapon was powerful, yes, but it drained him like fire burning through wood. His strength was fading fast. The drones swarmed above, red beams searching for the girl and her mother. Ethan hurled the staff upward. A bolt of light shot into the air, slicing through 3 drones at once. They crashed down in sparks and metal. The chamber went silent for a moment. Smoke curled in the air. Ethan's chest heaved, his body trembling. Then came a new sound, a deeper hiss, a heavier step. From the shadows at the far end of the chamber, another hunter emerged. This one was larger than the rest. Its armor was darker, its eyes burning brighter. A scar ran across its mask, glowing red like molten fire. The girl whispered in terror. "The leader!" The great hunter raised its clawed hand. The other hunters froze, waiting. Then with a low growl, the leader pointed at Ethan. They charged as one. Ethan gritted his teeth. He slammed the staff again, sending out another shockwave. But this time the hunters braced themselves. They dug their claws into stone and pushed through the force. One clawed hand swiped at Ethan's chest. He barely dodged, the strike tearing his shirt and leaving a burning line across his skin. He stumbled back. The staff felt heavier now, almost too heavy to lift. The girl cried out, "Don't stop!" The woman's weak voice echoed. "Believe, human. The weapon answers to your will, not your strength." Ethan swallowed hard. He steadied his breath. He thought of everything. The girl's tears, the mother's pain, the hunter's cruelty, the snare in the woods. He thought of how small he felt at first and how he refused to give up. He lifted the staff once more. This time, the glow spread not just across the weapon but through his body. His wound stung, but the pain faded under the light. The hunters closed in. Ethan shouted, his voice echoing through the chamber. He spun the staff in a wide arc, releasing a storm of light. Bolts shot out in every direction, striking the hunters. They screeched as the force hurled them into the walls. Drones shattered in midair. The leader snarled and leapt forward, breaking through the blast. Its claws struck against the glowing staff. Sparks flew, metal against light. The impact shook Ethan's arms, but he held his ground. The two locked in battle. The leader hissed in rage, pressing harder, its claws sliding closer to Ethan's chest. Ethan gritted his teeth and pushed back, every muscle straining. With one final roar, Ethan drove the staff forward. The weapon's core blazed like a star. A beam of pure light burst out, piercing straight through the leader's chest. The hunter screeched, a terrible sound that shook the chamber, before collapsing to the ground. Its red eyes flickered once, then went dark. Silence fell. The other hunters froze. Without their leader, their courage broke. One by one, they hissed and retreated into the shadows, vanishing back into the tunnels. The drones fell lifeless to the ground. Ethan collapsed to his knees, the staff slipping from his shaking hands. His body ached, his chest heaved, but he was alive. The girl ran to him, her glowing eyes wide with tears. "You did it! You saved us!" Her mother struggled to rise, her weak voice carrying pride. "Now I see. Humans are not prey. They are hope." Ethan looked at the weapon lying across his lap. Its glow was fading now, but he could still feel its heartbeat, faint and steady. He frowned. Why was it hidden here? Who put it on Earth? He looked at the girl. "This wasn't just for you, was it? That trap, those hunters, they weren't only after you." The girl's smile faded. "What do you mean?" Ethan's grip tightened on the staff. "That snare in the woods, it wasn't set for your mother. It was set for me. For the human who could wield this." The girl's eyes widened. Her mother's face turned pale with realization. In the silence of the chamber, Ethan's words hung heavy. This fight was not over. It had only begun.